Welcome to Solo Sailing with Trev White, and today I'm going to talk about sailing from New Zealand, the Bay of Islands, to Tanna Island in Vanuatu. Recently I did a shakedown sail from Whangarei in New Zealand to the Bay of Islands with most of my crew and a guest called Esther. And Esther I'd sailed with previously in Fiji, so she was helping out and just having a bit of a sail. So once we got up to the Bay of Islands, we had a little bit of a sail around there, and then we went to the Apua Marina, where we would transition some crew out and crew in, and we would also clear customs in the Apua Marina. So Est was going to leave us on Thursday night, and Emil was going to join us on Friday morning, and Fiona was going to visit friends and also do some provisioning for us. She had access to a vehicle. And then the rest of us, we just went to the pub. There's a little yacht club at Apua, so we went up to the yacht club, had a few beers, got a decent feed. It's quite a good food there. And then just went back and got some sleep on the boat. So the crew for the trip to Tanna was Harriet, Fiona, and Emil. So Emil was joining us on the Friday morning. So 8 o'clock Friday, Emil turned up with all his bags and chattels, and we conducted a safety brief rather, and a bit of an intro brief to the boat. Gave him a bunk, life jacket, a bit of a talk about the boat, and then 10 o'clock Fiona arrived back with some food. And then we went up to Customs, and Customs is located up near the sail loft in the industrial area of the Apua Marina. So we managed to score a slot at 11:30 to clear Customs. Went down there, and we cleared Customs at 11:30. They were very helpful, quite efficient, and only took us about 20 minutes to clear Customs. We were having some problems with one of the phones, so they gave us about a half an hour leeway to depart once we cleared. So we went back to the boat trying to sort out some phone issues. Couldn't really resolve it. And we departed the Apua Marina at about 12:30. So it wasn't the greatest start. As we were leaving the marina, bucketed down rain, squall went through. So everybody had to race in and get rain jackets on. But thankfully it didn't last. And what looked like it was going to be a crap day turned into a beautiful day. Rain passed us, sun came out. And we had a beautiful sail out through the Bay of Islands, right until, sunset. The sun was beautiful. We had light winds, 10, 15 knots, bit of a broad reach. It was a pretty cruisy start to our sailing adventure. Fiona and Harriet had done the shakedown sail with me. Emil had joined us in the Bay of Islands because it wasn't available for the shakedown sail. And Esther had left to go back to work. But, we got our sail underway, and over the next 48 hours, we had fantastic weather, and, crew just got into the routine, sailing routine, sleeping routine, cooking routine. Harriet, who'd been dreadfully sick on the shakedown sail, had listened and taken a heap of seasick medication, and taken it the night before, taken the morning, and, didn't get seasick again. She was maybe a little bit queasy, but got through it. And 48 hours, she was looking pretty good and enjoying the trip. It was good to see that she was having fun. Fiona, who didn't appear to get seasick at all, was running around asking lots of questions and really enjoying herself. Emil had done a bit of sailing before, and he just settled into the journey and made himself useful in the kitchen. Emil was quite a good cook, so he was focused on producing food, helping the girls with food preparation, although he's a pretty good cook by his own standards. And we settled into a trip, and to be honest, it's probably the best start to a sailing voyage I've ever had. We had what I consider to be perfect conditions, 10 to 20 knots, beam reach, probably for the first 500 miles. It was just really easy, beautiful sailing, relatively flat seas. Crew were enjoying themselves. Everybody was getting along. Food was fantastic. It was boat was in good nick and work, and everything was working. Couldn't complain at all. Couldn't ask for a better start to a journey. So it was pretty good. We even managed to make some bread. So we had a couple of days there where we had some really good weather, and baked up some bread. I think we might have even baked up a couple of loaves. People took turns baking bread. But we had some fantastic meals. So I can't complain with the food on our voyage. It was fantastic, and all the crew were excellent cooks. We certainly got into our routine, and by the halfway mark, everybody was used to the routine. We swapped around the night routine, and everybody got a chance to do different shifts. I typically stick with the last shift That way, if I'm adjusting sails or making changes, I can do it in the morning, and also like the morning shift where the sunrise is coming up. It's probably the best shift of the day, in my opinion. But yeah, we about 500 miles. Fiona had a bucket list request, which was to swim in the middle of the ocean between land masses. So 500 miles, we're about halfway between Tanna Island and New Zealand. And we decided it was almost calm enough to go for a swim. So we probably had 10 knots. So we dropped the sails, a little bit rolly, but it was calm enough to go for a swim, just. So we threw out a couple of buoys out the back of the boat on long ropes, just in case someone got swept away from the boat. And we spent a good hour just swimming around the boat, having a bit of fun. At one stage, I think we had everybody in the water, which is probably not ideal, but, the boat wasn't drifting very far or very fast. And everybody enjoyed just swimming in the middle of the ocean. It was, incredibly blue, incredibly beautiful. The day was, gorgeous day with lots of sunshine, light breeze. And after about an hour, it was time to wrap it up, and everybody got their, swimming in the middle of the ocean photographs, jumped back on board, got dry. And it was also a good place just to have a swim, have a swim, quick shower, after 5 days at sea. So, I'm always conscious of water conservation on a voyage, and, having a swim and then a quick shower is one way to conserve your precious drinking water. But, once everybody's back on board, we got the main up, and we started to sail. And again, we're only at light conditions, so we had the main up, the jib, the mizzen, and we're just putting along, probably, still getting, 5 to 6 knots. It was still quite enjoyable. And we had that for a couple of days, and the wind started to come in from the east-southeast. And started to build. So 3 days out from Tanna Island, we ended up with quite a stiff breeze, and it kept building, and seas continually got rougher and rougher until they were incredibly quite rough, to be honest. And at one stage, we had everything down except the storm jib, and we were still ploughing along at about 6 to 7 knots was just the jib up, probably at about 35 knots on the beam. And, we would have been stronger than that. We dropped the main at one stage because we had a twin headsail rig. That's why we ended up on just a storm jib. The last 24 hours into Tanna Island were, it was quite rough. And we were going to go to Port Resolution in Tanna Island, which is quite near to the volcano, and it's quite a good port for cruisers to come into. But you've got to arrange in advance to go to Port Resolution. So I'd made all those arrangements, and we'd committed to paying additional fees to go there, so you're paying an extra, a couple $100 to clear customs in Port Resolution. You've got to do it before you leave, and it's a couple of hours from Vanuatu to Port Resolution for customs. I understand why they do it. It's a fair drive, fair bit of time involved. It's not a short drive for them. But at about 24 hours out, I had real reservations whether we'd go to Port Resolution. The wind and swell were sweeping, from what I can gather, straight into the port. And that meant it would have been rough, and there's not a huge amount of room in there. There's probably enough for about 8 boats, but if it's lumpy, then you're not going to get the best conditions in there. And the boats that manage to tuck in first are going to be okay. Anybody coming in late is stuck in the middle of shitty conditions. So at the last minute, where I had to choose between Port Resolution and Vanuatu, I chose Vanuatu, basically because it was blowing 30 to 35 knots. And I thought Vanuatu would be a better option. So we went for that. And even then, I wasn't sure whether the swell wrapping around the island would make it a viable place to stop, and I might need to go to Port Vila. But as the gods would have it, it was calm enough for us to get into Vanuatu. So we sailed up the coast in 30, 35 knots, got in Vanuatu, motored in. It was still blowing, 30 to 35 when we got about 150 off the port. But it was calm enough, with those strong winds. It calmed down the seas and flattened the oceans, and we dropped a pick. Winds were strong, but the anchorage was pretty calm. It's been known as a place where it gets quite rolly, and it does get rolly when the winds ease off. But because the winds were blowing so strong, it was quite calm. And I put up a riding sail once we'd arrived. I put up the mizzen, and that stops the boat from rolling so much. It works on a ketch. You can also do it on a sloop. You just have a small sail that you put on the back end of the boom. It's called a riding sail. But on TinTin, putting up the mizzen stopped the boat from rolling around so much and made it quite pleasant. So once we're in there, yeah, we stopped, had a bit of brekkie. We got in about 9 o'clock, I think, by the time we'd anchored and sorted everything out. Got the dinghy over the side, the motor on, had a bit of brekkie, and then it was time to clear customs. So I, as you know, the captain, I've got to go in with passports, etc., find customs. You know, crew have to stay on board. Generally, that's the accepted practice. And then customs come out to you or they clear you. And so I went in and, to my amusement, you never know what you're going to get when you go into a foreign port. And, 3 dudes having a machete fight down the middle of the road. But as it turns out, they were either drunk, stoned, or doing something. And, it lasted all about 5 minutes before they were all collapsed under a tree, half asleep. But that was an interesting start to my day. And then I went looking for customs. Couldn't find customs. They weren't there. It was Saturday morning and it was, still early. So as I was walking back to the boat, I thought, I'll give it a go tomorrow. Although tomorrow was Sunday and Sunday was the day of rest. I managed to run into the biosecurity guy. So he gave me a lift back to the big banya tree. So as you come into Lanikel Harbour and you look straight ahead, there's a market straight ahead. And then to the right, there's a bit of a shop and there's a tree with a table and chair set underneath the tree, and that's where you do customs, under the tree. So I went there, did customs, or not customs, but cleared biosecurity, immigration, and he said it was okay for me to clear customs on Monday and that I could go to church on Sunday. So crew wanted to go to see a church service in Vanuatu, so we got cleared and we got permission to all go ashore and met a local pastor who happened to be there with his wife and kid, and he invited us to his church. And, so once the crew came in, we had a bit of a chat to him, got the invite, said he'd meet us there the next morning at about 7:30. We went and did a little bit of shopping at the local market. Everybody got to stretch their legs, buy a SIM card. There was SIM cards available at the local market there, a little Vodafone and Digicel store. And, it was just good to have a bit of a walk around. There's not much there, but you could buy veggies. There was a veggie market nearly every day except Sunday. There's a little shop which had a reasonable amount of food. There was a little alcohol shop and even a little restaurant behind the market and a cafe. So there's for a small town, there was quite a lot of stuff that you could get in that town if you just looked around and asked people. And so we did a bit of a shop and, reprovisioned the boat, got a lot of fruit and veg, and decided that we were going to do some tours. So we had tours planned. We wanted to go and definitely wanted to go see the volcano, and that was why we were planning to stop at Port Resolution. The volcano is much more close. Mount Yasur is the volcano, and it's only a couple of miles away from Port Resolution, but it's probably a good 3 hours, 2 to 3 hours from Lanikel. But it was possible to do it, so we'd arranged while we were there to do a tour of a number of things in addition to the volcano, so a whole day tour, and I'll cover that in the following podcast. But getting ashore, getting some groceries, good solid anchorage, even though it was still blowing, it continued to blow its arse off for a couple of days. We had a good anchorage and it was relatively calm. So in strong winds it is calm in Lanikel, even though people say it's quite rolly. I found it very calm, and I found the anchoring good solid anchoring there. So, arriving in 30 knots, if your anchor is going to drag, it's going to drag in those conditions. But, once we'd got in and, we just chilled out, went to a little local cafe there and had a coffee and a bite to eat. But, it's a nice little spot, nice little town to come in and sort your provisions. So that was our trip from the Bay of Islands to Lanikel in Tanna Island. And I would recommend stopping at Tanna Island if you're going to Vanuatu, and Port Resolution is a beautiful spot. If you can't get in there, then Lanikel is also suitable to stop and clear customs. The benefit of Lanikel is there are food markets, food shops, alcohol shops at that location, and customs and immigration are all located in that vicinity, so you can track them down and see them there. Whereas at Port Resolution, they have to drive out there, and they charge you an extra couple $100 for the privilege of doing that, which is completely understandable based on the distance. And it's a four-wheel drive goat track. You need a proper four-wheel drive to get there with river crossings and all sorts of goings on. But Lanikel was more than adequate for our needs to reprovision and clear customs. So thanks for joining me. Safe sailing. I'll see you out there. Bye for now.